Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. If you're new, then welcome to this channel. Well, today we are going through some of the basics of Tkinter. Well, it's all about entry in Tkinter, like what is entry, how entry exactly works, and how to create an entry, and how to show the entry in the window, and how to configure, and how to get input using the entry class, and how to disable the entry. And by showing some examples, I'm gonna do all these things. So if you're new to Tkinter and if you want to learn more, then the link of the playlist of this Tkinter will be in the description. Just go there and check it out. Well, what do you think an entry is? Entry is nothing but the input that is given by the user, like whatever the GUI or whatever the interface that you are creating. But at the time, we need input from the user sometimes, right? Based on that input, the function exactly works. So in order to take input from the user, there is a widget called entry, which actually enables us to take input from the user, and we can manipulate data based on that. So here, entry looks something like this one. It's like where you'll just go there and tap your input, and if you click this button, it's gonna store the data, and yeah, we can work according to that data. So the syntax of entry will be something like this one. You can create name entry, or you can just give E as a variable where it stores the data which is given by the user, the input which is given by the user. So here we have entry class, which is actually from Tkinter. You're just going to get this from Tkinter module, and window is the thing that we are going to pass as the parameter, because in this window we need this input, we need this entry. Okay, and the width is equal to 10. It's nothing but it's going to store 10 characters. Okay, and if you click this one, it's going to store the input that is given by the user, and for that we have to write a function. I'll let you know how to do that in a few moments. Once we created the entry, we have to place that entry. Never forget this place geometry manager. If you didn't know what is the geometry manager, what is place, what is pack, what is grid, then you can just go there and check out this playlist and start from the beginning. Now let's begin coding so that we can understand how this entry exactly works in a pragmatic way. Well, in the previous sessions I explained you what is a window, how to create, what is label, how to create, and I also said what is a button and how to do that. We also know some geometry managers that we have actually did before. Now it's time to create entry, but let me clear this mess before that. I just want one label. Let me clear this one. Okay, let me keep this under comments because we need function. I'll let you know why. And we need a button. Okay, now we have a label, we have a button. Okay, if we run this one, I think I'll get error because there is no function called first event. Yes, first event not defined. Let me clear this one for a while. Okay, now it's fine, but this button not gonna work. It's fine for us. Okay, let us give some text here. Instead of first button, we'll give first input. Okay, now we have first input, but we need entry, right? The input which is given by the user. So let's do it. Entry 1 equal to entry class, and inside of entry class we're gonna give window as parameter, because in this window we need that entry, and we gonna give width, for example 20. And we have to place. Never forget to place. Okay. One dot. Let's use grid geometry manager. It will be easy for us to manage. Let me see. Grid. Row equal to 0. Column equal to 1. And this will be 2. C. Okay, this width of this entry, and yeah, let's give some space in between. It'll be easy for us to manage if we give some space, and it also easy for us to look. Oh yeah, now it's looking good. So here we have first input, we have entry, we can give our input here, but it's not gonna work for us because we didn't write function to save this one. So let's write function. Now you guys know how to create an entry, right? You can create multiple entries. You can just create entry 2, entry 3. You can create whatever entry. Like when it comes to forms, if you want to create a form in this graphical user interface or in this interface, whatever the thing that you're creating, then at the time this entry gonna help you out, and you can get that entry. And for that we have to write a function. So for that I'm gonna use this function, which is first event here, but we'll give, instead of first event, we'll give first entry. First entry, we'll just give taking your first entry, so that we can just confirm, like test whether it's working or not. Delete this one. We need to get entry, right? Input that is given by the user. So for that, I'm gonna create variable called result. We'll create a variable called result, and in this result, we're gonna store the entry 1 input, okay? Entry 1 dot get, and we'll print result so that we can see whether it's working or not. Okay, but in order to make this function work for us, we have to give this function. Like while we are clicking this one, this first entry must work for us. So what are we going to do is go to button and give command and give the name of the function, first entry. Now let's see. Let's give input. Hey. Yeah, see here. If you give hey here, it is actually showing the input that is being given by the user. If you say hello and click, it's gonna give hello. What's happening here is you created a label first and you gave entry, which is actually the input window, and you actually created first entry and you created a button, right? Now when you click this button, it's gonna run this command and it's gonna go to this first entry, and first it will print taking your first entry as output, and result equal to entry1.get. Entry1.get is what's happening here is whatever the input that is being given by the user is actually getting and storing it in result, and it's printing the result. In this way, it's exactly working. Okay, in this way, entry is actually getting our input, and yeah, we can manipulate the data, and it depends upon the type of interface or the functionality of the interface that you're building on. But here we can see the output in the command, right? Like for that, in order to see this hello as a text or as a label, what should we do? Any guesses? Do you know? Like in the previous session, I actually showed you how we can do that, like how we can manipulate this input, which is actually showing in this command prompt, can be represented here. I think you guys know. Like for that, we have to use label and we have to configure that label. So what we have to do is first copy this label. First and foremost thing is create a label and give this as label 2. This will be label 2, and this will be there will be no text, because we're gonna get the text from the input of that entry, and we're gonna give label grid. Row will be 1, column will be 1 for now. Now what should we do is we have to configure the label that we created, right? So here label 2 dot configure text equal to result. Let's see whether it will work or not. It is me. Oh yeah, it's working. It is me. Welcome. Yes, it is taking the input and it's working. Thanks for watching. Yeah, but we have to increase the width of this one if you want. For now, if you want to increase the width, you can do, like for example, instead of giving width from 10, you can give 20. Let me give again. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Now the width has increased, so we can see thanks for watching completely. So in this way the entry exactly works. We have seen how to create an entry, how to show that entry in the window, and how to place that entry in the window. We have seen how to take the input from the user using that entry and how to store that entry, right? And we can even manipulate that. So we have seen what is an entry. Entry is actually an input window which is given by, like, where we'll take input from the user. And how to create an entry, you know, by using this entry class where we are going to send two parameters. For now we can even configure that later, but for now we just need the window that where we want to place this entry, and we want the width of that window so that we can, it depends upon the type of input that we are taking from the user. And we know how to create an entry, we know how to show the entry in the window. You can use 3 geometry managers. For now I just use grid here so that it will be easy for us to manage by using grid. And we also know how to configure the properties of a button. I think you know exactly, like by clicking this button it's gonna store the input and we're gonna get that input from the user as we have seen just now. So in this way we can even configure the properties of the button based on our needs. We can even get the input using this entry class. We can even disable. When it comes to disabling, you can disable the input. Like if you observe in some forms as a user while giving input, while filling those forms, sometimes you don't have to give inputs to some of them. It's not at all necessary sometimes. Like sometimes you have to restrict some things from the user to not to use that form, like not to give input in that particular field. So in that case you can just give state equal to disabled in the entry itself. Like for example, if you give state equal to disabled, it's gonna disable that particular input for us. Yeah, if you see here, you cannot give input, actually you cannot give. So in this way we can disable the input if you want. It's not gonna take any input from the user, so you'll just print taking your first entry as output. So yeah, that's all. I think I covered everything about entry. In the next video I'll be back with one more interesting Tkinter basic. If you are new, then kindly start learning from the beginning. And if you like the video, then hit that cute little like button. And if you are new to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you'll never miss an update from us. And yeah, see you in the next video.